Right, we're now going to come to the oral statement, North Sea vessel collision. Minister Kane.
Mr. Speaker, with permission, I wish to make a statement regarding the collision between two vessels off the east coast of Yorkshire that occurred yesterday. I want to begin by offering my sincere thanks to all those who are responding on the front line, from His Majesty's Coast Guard to local emergency services. This is a challenging situation, and I know I speak for everyone in this House when I say that the responders' ongoing efforts are both brave and hugely appreciated. I also want to thank the international partners for their many offers of assistance to the UK and the support from the maritime community. This is a fast-moving situation, so let me set out the facts as I currently have them. At 9:47 on Monday the 10th of March, the vessel MV Solong, sailing under the flag of Madeira, collided with the anchored vessel MV Stena Immaculate in the North Sea, a fuel tanker sailing under the flag of the United States and operated by the US Navy. The collision occurred approximately 13 nautical miles off the coast. Fire immediately broke out on both vessels, and after initial firefighting attempts were overwhelmed by the size and the nature of the fire, both crews abandoned ship. Firefighting and search and rescue operations, coordinated by His Majesty's Coast Guard, continued throughout the day yesterday, pausing in the evening once darkness fell. Firefighting activity restarted this morning, and I'm pleased to say that the fire on the Stena Immaculate appears to be extinguished, but the Solong continues to burn. Although they became attached to each other during the collision, the Solong broke free of the Stena Immaculate late last night and began drifting southwards. Modelling suggests that, should the Solong remain afloat, it will remain clear of land for the next few hours. The assessment of His Majesty's Coast Guard is, however, that it is unlikely the vessel will remain afloat. Tugboats are in the vicinity to ensure that the Solong remains away from the coast and to respond as the situation develops. I want to be clear that while there are 1,000-metre temporary exclusion zones established around both vessels, maritime traffic through the Humber estuary is continuing. The full crew of 23 on the Immaculate is accounted for and on shore. One sailor was treated at the scene but declined any further medical assistance. 13 of the 14 sailors of the MV Solong are accounted for. Search and rescue operations for the missing sailor continued throughout yesterday, but were called off yesterday evening at the point of which the chances of their survival had unfortunately significantly diminished. Our working assumption is that, very sadly, that the sailor is deceased. The Coast Guard has informed the company, and it has been advised to inform the next of kin. Our thoughts are with the sailors' loved ones at this time. Regarding the cargo of the vessels, the MV Stena was carrying 220,000 barrels of jet fuel, which was the source of the fire. The MCA is working at pace to determine exactly what cargo the Solong is carrying. I am aware of media reporting regarding potential hazardous materials on board, but we are unable to confirm at this time. However, counter-pollution measures and assets are already in place, and both vessels are being closely monitored for structural integrity. A tactical coordination group has been established through the Humber and Lincolnshire Local Resilience Forum. The Marine Accident Investigation Branch is deployed to the site and has begun their investigation. The MCA is rapidly developing a plan to salvage the vessels once it is safe to do so. The Department of Transport will continue working closely with the Cabinet Office and other government agencies and the Resilience Forum on the response. Colleagues across this House will appreciate that this situation is still unfolding as I speak, and I will try and answer the questions from honourable members with as much detail with the latest information I have at my disposal. Mr. Speaker, I commend this statement to the House.
Shadow Minister Jerome Mayhew.
I thank the Minister for advance sight of his statement. Yesterday morning, shortly before 10 a.m, the container ship MV Solong collided with the oil tanker MV Stena Immaculate, which was at anchor in the North Sea off the coast of Yorkshire. The Stena Immaculate was on a short-term charter to the US Navy's Military Sealift Command and was carrying 220,000 barrels of jet fuel. The Minister has not formally confirmed the cargo of the So Long, a Madeira-flagged vessel, but it has been widely reported that it was carrying 15 containers of toxic sodium cyanide. I listened to the statement carefully, but can the Minister confirm that this is now not his understanding? This collision and the resulting spill are deeply concerning. However, before questioning the Minister on the Government's response, I join him in paying tribute to His Majesty's Coast Guard, the RNLI, emergency services and all others who have helped respond to this incident. As the Minister noted, Mr. Speaker, the emergency services were on the scene swiftly and their actions saved many lives. Approaching fiercely burning vessels with a risk of explosion takes enormous bravery, and we all commend them. I'm grateful for the confirmation that all mariners from Stena Immaculate have been recovered without injury and that 13 of the 14 crew members from the So Long have been brought safely ashore. Our thoughts and prayers are with the family and colleagues of the missing member of that crew. I understand that the search for life has concluded, but can the Minister update the House on the efforts being made to recover that mariner? Turning to the collision itself, the Minister has confirmed that early investigations do not point to foul play, but will he commit to remain vigilant to ensure that any indications of foul play are carefully investigated? Additionally, given the involvement of both US and Madeira-registered ships, could the Minister inform the House what impact this will have on the investigative process? And has the Government contacted those respective governments to ensure their close cooperation? The Secretary of State will be aware that there is deep concern regarding the effect of the oil spill on the surrounding marine environment. Environmental organisations have warned of potentially devastating impacts of pollution from the tankers on habitats and species in the area, including threatened seabird colonies, grey seals and fish, and nature-rich sites such as the Humber Estuary, where conservationists have been restoring seagrass and oysters, could be devastated by this emergency. So has he been briefed by the Environment Agency on their response? And could he give us some more details about it? And the Minister made reference to the drift of the So Long and the risk that it may run aground without intervention. Can he update the House on what steps will be taken to ensure that this does not happen? I understand that Maritime Accident Investigation Branch has begun a preliminary investigation into this emergency, and I'm pleased that the Minister is working closely with the Maritime and Coast Guard Agency as they conduct an assessment on the counter-pollution response that may be required over the coming days. But I also seek assurances that the Government will closely engage with local communities who will be concerned about the impact of the collision on their environment. This incident involves multiple government departments spanning emergency response, environmental protection, maritime safety, defence and chemical transport regulation. Effective cross-government coordination is therefore crucial. Can the Minister assure the House that such coordination is taking place and that Parliament will receive regular updates? It is, of course, too early to draw significant conclusions at this stage, but it is clear that something went terribly wrong in the handling of these two vessels. We will support the Minister in whatever action is needed to ensure the highest standards of safety on the high seas.
Well, can I thank the Honourable Member for that? Something did go terribly wrong. He's exactly right. And my thoughts and prayers are with the missing sailors' family. The company has been informed and his next of kin are being informed. In terms of the series of questions that he asked, what we do know for sure is that the Immaculate was carrying 220,000 barrels of A1 jet fuel. We know that for sure. We are yet to establish the cargo of the So Long. As soon as I know, I will make that information available to the House. We will do everything to recover the body of the mariner. In a recent debate around emergency response services, we know that lives are lost at sea, but some succour and comfort is given to the fact that rescue services often bring people's loved ones back to them for proper funeral and burial. Whether there was foul play, I think, is speculation. There is no evidence to suggest that at the moment. We are in contact through the MCA with our American and Portuguese counterparts and have liaised with that. In terms of the counter-pollution measures that he mentioned, the MCA is standing by with marine and aerial counter-pollution measures and will use them at the necessary time, but the immediate concern is to put out the fire on the So Long. He mentioned the issue of drift. This is ships drifting. The Immaculate remains anchored, so we are safe there. It's the Solong that is drifting at 2 nautical miles per hour. It is being shadowed by 2 tugboats currently. The order will be given by SOSREP or the MCA to intervene as when necessary to protect any life on shore. He's right about the Marine Accident Investigation Bureau. We have deployed those assets to the scene, and they are working currently and working with the local Resilience Forum, and I just want to pass on my thanks to the Humberside Resilience Forum at this time, and that I can assure him that government agencies are working together very effectively and giving ministers and the Secretary of State regular updates through situation reports as the night went on and as the day continues.
Chair of the Select Committee, Ruth Cadbury.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I also endorse the Minister's thanks to the frontline workers who've been involved and his concern for the and condolences for the missing mariner's family. While we wait for the report, which will have to happen, on how this appalling tragedy happened, will the Minister confirm how the routes are being managed now? He started to do that while the Solong is drifting, and whether further protection of routes will need to happen in terms of because of the pollution and so on, in order to not delay further movement of shipping in these busy waters, but also to protect the welfare of seafarers in other ships.
Well, I thank the Chair of the Transport Committee for that question. It is an incredibly busy sea highway, as we all know, and I had the great honour of visiting the command and control post of the Humber Estuary almost on my last visit as Shadow Minister for Maritime just before the general election, and I want to pay tribute to them and their hard work in dealing with this situation. Just to assure the Chair of the Transport Select Committee, the Immaculate was anchored. It's the Solong that's drifting. There is a 1,000-metre exclusion zone around them. Both other assets are allowed to traverse the Humber Estuary currently. If that changes, I will make that information available during the day.
Paul Kohler, the Liberal Democrat spokesman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I thank the Minister for advanced sight of his statement? The scenes we've all witnessed in news reports are very concerning, and our thoughts are with all those affected and the family of the crew member who remains unaccounted for. This event reminds us of the risks and dangers those who work in the maritime sector face. These men and women are often working long, challenging hours, keeping our country and economy going with little, if any, recognition, and we are hugely grateful to them. We're also indebted to the emergency services, RNLI and the Coast Guard for their tireless work through the night. I know they are doing all they can to limit the damage and limit the environmental impact, and did so much to minimise the loss of life. Whilst it will take time to establish what has taken place, it's clear the government needs to take urgent steps to limit the damage and reassure local communities. I welcome the government's formation of a tactical coordination group and the work they are doing with other agencies. I appreciate this is still an unfolding situation and many questions cannot be answered at this stage. But can I ask the Minister, one, what immediate steps the government is taking to protect the environment along the East Coast? Two, what the Minister is doing to keep shipping routes open and safe? And three, what plans does the government have to support fishing and other businesses that rely on waters that might now be contaminated?
Well, can I join with the Honourable Member in paying tribute to maritime workers? They kept us fed, fuelled and supplied all the way through COVID, and they keep us fed, fuelled and supplied every day of every week in our nation, and I cannot commend them more highly. And can I also join with him in paying tribute to the emergency services? This is difficult, hard work, and they are doing an exceptional job in those circumstances. We have, as I've said, the MCA standing by with marine and aerial counter-pollution measures. Those are in place. Once we get the fire on the Solong out, we will begin to deploy them, assess the situation, begin to deploy those measures. And I've said it's vital that we keep shipping lanes open as best we can in the Humber estuary as this continues. That's why we've placed a 1,000-metre exclusion zone around both ships. Currently outside that, maritime vessels can operate normally, as normal is in this circumstance.
Melanie.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank the Minister for his communication with me through this unfolding situation, and everybody who has been involved in it. It is evolving minute by minute, really, and I'd like to pay tribute to the local RNLI, Coast Guard and Emergency Services for their rapid rescue response, and also the local community who have been heavily involved in readying themselves for any potential ecological or environmental fallout from this incident. I don't know whether the Minister will be aware, but Ernst Russ, who own the So Long, have now put out a statement saying that it has been misreported that the hazardous chemical was on board the So Long, and that there are 4 empty containers that have previously contained the hazardous chemical, and that they will continue to monitor that cargo. I wonder if the Minister has had any success in tracking down the manifest for the So Long, so that we can get some reassurance and reassure my constituents and put their minds at ease about exactly what was on that vessel, and also ask when he's expecting the initial report from the Maritime Accident Investigation Branch, so that we can understand what on earth happened in this most extraordinary of events.
Can I thank my honourable friend who's kept in contact with me throughout the night and this morning as well. And it was, as I said, we visited together the Command and Control Centre just before the general election in her constituency to see the excellent facilities there. Can I just pay tribute to the Humberside Local Resilience Forum? It's made up of the police, the fire and rescue, local authorities, Red Cross, NHS, MCHG, MCCG, Royal Navy, PCC, Ambulance Service, Border Force, environmental agencies, MOD and ABP Humber Ports and the Met Office and UKHSA, that they are working at pace to assess any risks to local people that may occur and working hard at that. In terms of the manifest, I have to say there has been a lot of press reports, Mr. Speaker, over the days. The facts are the facts. 220,000 barrels of A1 jet fuel on the Immaculate, and the MCA are working at pace to establish the cargo of the So Long, which sailed from Grangemouth. So hopefully we can, with that information from the manifest at port, as soon as we find that out, we will make that information, release that information to the House.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. May I join the Minister in saluting the heroic rescuers and mourning the loss of the seamen. Mr. Speaker, you may share some of my frustration at the lack of communication with members of this House regarding yesterday's maritime disaster off the Holderness coast in my constituency. Apart from a brief phone call following my reaching out to the Secretary of State for Transport, I spoke to the leader of East Riding of Yorkshire Council, the Police and Crime Commissioner, local councillors, all struggling to get information as to what was going on just miles off the coast. My constituents from Kilnsea, Easington, Wythenshawe, Aldborough and beyond, I believe, deserve better. So I must ask the Minister, why did it take so long for the local resilience forum to be set up? Is he confident that we have the proper structures in place of governance when a disaster like this happens? How can we ensure that communications are improved moving forward? What work is being done to protect the puffins, wildlife and beaches in our area? And how can we ensure that the agencies responsible are held to account? And perhaps the Minister could comment why he was missing in action yesterday, when we would love to have heard, not just from 24-hour rolling media, but from the member of our own elected government, what was happening with this terrible disaster.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I was dealing with the situation. And the Secretary of State made a statement. And we stood up the Maritime and Coast Guard, and within minutes, a response was ongoing. The Honourable Member had a call from a member of staff of the Secretary of State within an hour or two of the situation, being fully informed. The local Humberside Resilience Forum was established. We've deployed assets for marine protection at the site. I'm not sure what the member actually is asking for, but I think I am very proud of the agencies, both local and national, that have worked at pace to get us to where we are currently.
Alison.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I welcome the Minister's timely statement and would like to associate myself with his praise for the swift response of the emergency services and NR and allied volunteers. Over recent years, fishermen along the east coast of Yorkshire, including Scarborough and Whitby, have battled to keep going against the background of the effects of the crustacean die-off, and they're naturally extremely concerned by reports of jet fuel possibly leaking into the sea. I do appreciate this is a fast-moving situation, but could my honourable friend tell the House more about the counter-pollution measures which are in place, and also how predicted weather conditions will affect the ongoing operation?
Well, I thank the Honourable Member for her question. Yes, I know members on the North East Coast on all sides of this House have been worried over a number of years about the crustacean die-off, and this is a concern that jet oil could well be leaking into the sea. I can say that every resource is being deployed by MCA and other agencies to assess the extent of the pollution, and every resource will be put in to clean up that pollution. I happen to be meeting with the fishermen organisations later in the week for separate reasons, so I hope to be able to update them with further information at that time around their very valuable trade.
Tom Gordon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have been in communication with Lib Dem councillors in the East Riding and also the Lib Dem administration in Hull. Yesterday, the leader of the council, Mike Ross, raised the calls for a rapid response from government, and I would really push the Minister on clarity on what exactly we should be seeing from the Tactical Coordination Group, and whether there is a government commitment to make sure that any environment and economic impact will be covered by the government, and what more support we'll see potentially down the line if there are long-term consequences as a result of any pollution.
Well, can I thank the Honourable Member for his question. It's standard procedure to bring on board the local resilience forums in any case like this. That has been done. It is up and running. I am grateful to all elected members from whichever party, in particular hard-working councillors who will be involved in this to make sure that the best interests of the people of the Humber region are protected at this time. And I can say that yes, we have currently deployed all the resources that are needed to contain both this fire and to assess the environmental damage of any spillage are on site at the moment. We will continue to make decisions in conjunction with the Local Resilience Forum as we go on through the day and for the rest of the week, I believe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just wish to add my voice to the call made by my honourable friend and neighbour, the member for Scarborough and Whitby, about the very perilous position of the Teesside and North Yorkshire marine ecosystem following the environmental disaster we suffered in 2021. And so I'd ask the Minister to really ensure that the response isn't only around the Humber estuary, but also reviews the environmental impact for the entire East Coast as well.
Yeah. I'm very grateful to the Honourable Member. As I said, the MCA's counter-pollution assets are being deployed at the scene, including the RNLI and search and rescue and aviation. They've all been on site, though the search and rescue has been stood down. I just want to point out to the Honourable Member that both vessels were also carrying marine heavy fuel oil. This, of course, is a present pollution risk should either vessel sink or break apart at this time.
Charlie Dewhirst.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. May I thank the Minister for his statement today and echo his comments in relation to the missing sailor, and add my thanks to all of those who have been involved in the rescue operation, particularly those at RNLI station in Bridlington. Constituents in my constituency of Bridlington and the Wolds are rightly concerned about the potential environmental and ecological impact, not least because we have the biggest bird colony in mainland Britain, Bempton and Flamborough. We have the largest shellfish landing port in the UK at Bridlington, and we have around 5 million visitors who come to the area every year, enjoying the beaches from Bridlington down to Hornsey. So can I ask the Minister whether he's had any assessments as yet as to the direction of any potential pollution, the currents and the wind direction, and what role they may play in where any pollution eventually ends up?
That's exactly right to raise this. I had a conversation with the Minister for Nature late last night around this. The Met Office are telling us that modelling uses theoretical models to plot potential movement of the smoke plume in a similar way as it forecasts weather, and air quality monitoring can be done by onshore monitoring stations, the closest being Immingham. The immediate concern is to stop the fire so that we can do the assessment around the pollution. As soon as the fire is out, inspectors can either move nearer or move in to assess the extent of the spill, if there is a spill, and then we can begin to deploy the relevant resources to tackle that spill.
Lavery.
Mr. Speaker, my constituency of Blythe and Ashington is on the northeast coast, probably around about 150 miles from this horrendous disaster. Can the Minister say whether there's been an initial assessment on how this disaster and where the pollution might move to, and will that, is there a potential threat, I should say, to the coastline of the northeast of England?
Well, I thank the Honourable Member for his question. Like I said, the Met Office is modelling the situation with wind at the moment. We need to get the fire out on the Salong. Once that is done, we can make a further assessment of what is required and in which direction any pollution, if there is any, is moving, and we will deploy our assets to tackle that when we know that for sure.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's just over 32 years now since the MV Braer was grounded off Shetland, but for us, the memories are still very, very fresh, and to those communities on the east coast of England that are braced for what may be coming, we know exactly how they will be feeling. Mr. Speaker, we may not know what happened here, but I think we can be pretty certain in saying that at some time, somewhere, something of this sort was going to happen. Such is the nature and the way of which shipping is regulated and owned across the world. In Shetland for years we have been warning the dangers of tankers anchored right by our shoreline, others entering areas marked in the chart as areas to be avoided. But it is next to impossible to get any agency to take ownership of that. So can we use this moment, because I know the Minister has concern about this, to take a serious look about how we protect our coastal and island communities in the future?
Can I thank the Honourable Gentleman and for his expertise in this area, and he has raised with tankers moored off his constituency, off Shetland and Orkney, with me in my office. I understand that the 1972 collision regs absolutely state that there has to be proper lookout, there has to be sight and sound lookout and all other methods. So something has gone wrong here. So I think, as difficult it is to say, accidents always provide an opportunity to see how we can do things better going forward. So I'm hoping that when the Marine Accident Investigation Branch comes back, both with its initial findings and its substantive findings, which will come to my desk, that we can learn the lessons of this accident.
Martin Vickers.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I join with others in praising the emergency services, and I would also add to that Martin Boyers and his colleagues from Port of Grimsby East who supported the emergency services. Obviously, concern at the moment is extinguishing the fire, but looking at the longer term, there will be an impact, the potential impact on the local community in as much as pollution and so on the beaches and the like. Can the Minister give an assurance that he and the other government departments will work closely with the Council and other agencies to ensure that any support that is needed will be available?
honourable member has formed, because he obviously has the port of Immingham in his constituency, and that's where the Immaculate was waiting to unload its cargo when a berth came available. But I can assure him that the MCA is on standby. It's got marine and aerial logistics in place to assess any potential pollution spill if there is one, and we will tackle it, but the priority, as I said again, is to get the fire on the Salong extinguished.
Richard Tice.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the Minister for his statement, and we congratulate everyone involved. It's worth just remembering, will the Minister join me, in the voluntary nature of so many of the emergency services, such as the RNLI, the lifeboat from Skegness. Those volunteers, they rush out of their homes, they rush out of their businesses to man the lifeboat. The RNLI Skegness was away for almost 11 hours and putting themselves in harm's way with extraordinary bravery, and we should never, ever forget that.
The honourable member, the Leader of Reform, should brace himself for what I'm about to say. I think he's acted with honour in terms of how this weekend, in my circumstances, with one of his ex-members in this House, and I am grateful to him. So he is exactly right. Our emergency services are second to none. Our volunteers that help His Majesty's Coast Guard and the RNLI are second to none as well. These men, women, risk their lives, braving the seas, the winds, the temperature, in this case the fog, to go and do what they could at the sea yesterday. I have nothing but the highest praise for them.
James Weil.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My constituency has the Norfolk coast area of outstanding natural beauty and other vital habitats, including the Wash, as well as a fishing fleet. So, given the location of this collision, there is concern locally about the potential impact. So, when will a risk assessment be done about the potential risk of pollution down the east coast to Norfolk? What action is being taken to contain it? And will he commit to keeping the public informed?
MCA assets are deployed currently to assess and monitor any potential environmental impacts of this accident. He is right, it is a rich biodiverse area. The priority still remains to get the fire on the Salong out so we can get a proper evaluation of the situation. Once we get that done, and once the fire is out, I can tell him that we will use every resource possible to ascertain the extent of the pollution, and to clear it up.
Steph Aquiro.
Mr. Speaker, can I put on record my thanks and appreciation specifically to the resilience team at North Norfolk District Council and their staff, and also the Port of Wells for their response and preparedness. It's not instantly clear what areas will be affected, and with changing winds and weather conditions, pollution can change course. North Norfolk, 50 nautical miles away from the incident, is currently predicted to be unaffected, but we're keeping a close eye on what happens. Can the Minister confirm that he will be keeping all MPs along the North Sea coastline updated on developments? Can he also confirm that if pollution is set to reach North Norfolk, my fishing communities will get as much notice as possible? They have well-rehearsed plans in place, but they need good notice in order to deploy them.
Well, the honourable member makes an important point about how interconnected our coastal communities are when it comes to this type of incidents, and our officials are monitoring the situation, where the pollution is going. We're looking at wind direction as it currently stands. I'm grateful that his local resilience team is stood up, and I am happy to keep all members of this House informed of the ongoing situation when it's required.
Dr. Andrew Morris.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Automatic identification systems and radar should mean that these sorts of things don't happen, even in dense fog, which is why many of us thought initially this could well be a maritime 9/11 type event or a malign state actor involved. Fortunately, that appears not to be the case, but it has exposed a vulnerability, and ships like the Stena Immaculate could be said to be something of sitting ducks. What audit will the Minister now do as to that vulnerability, and will he put in place what is necessary, what is practically necessary, in order to prevent such an occurrence?
I'm grateful for the honourable member. It's a very good question. In addition to my maritime responsibilities, I am the Security Minister for the Department of Transport, and any lessons that we learnt from maritime security in terms of this incident, that it could be used by a malign actor, we will learn them and we will implement the recommendations.
Thank
you, Mr Speaker. Will the Minister confirm whether he's been in contact with the Scottish Government, notably in relation to the originating port of the Solong? And on a second point, the Solong is clearly in significant danger of sinking and has containers on board. If any of those containers break loose and get washed up on shore, I think given that the hazardous substances that some of them have contained, it will be absolutely vital that public information is put out widely and very firmly about the dangers of approaching these any containers should that occur.
Well, I thank the honourable member for his question. The Maritime Coast Guard Authority is, of course, a reserved power to me that covers the United Kingdom. So I hope that answers the first part of his question. The second part of his question is I don't particularly want to speculate here today on the cargo of the Solong until I've got the facts confirmed by officials, and I can then let the House know appropriately.
Sir Julian Lewis.
Madam Deputy Speaker, and may I thank the Minister for the clarity of his statement and his answers today. Is it not extraordinary that there is such uncertainty as to whether or not so deadly a cargo as sodium cyanide was being carried on one of the vessels? And given that he says tugs might have to intervene to prevent the vessel running aground on the shores of this country, has he considered that if the fire is too dangerous for the tugs to approach, a role for the Royal Navy might be necessary under those extreme circumstances?
Well, I'm grateful to the honourable member for his question. We are a proud maritime nation, and we do have the maritime skills to transport all sorts of hazardous substance, if need be, to our island nation. We have the skills, and we have the people, and we have the ports, and we have the shipping lines to do it. I asked the member not to speculate on what was contained upon the Solong because it has not been established. There has been multiple press reports either way. Once I know for sure, I'll inform the House appropriately. And I also remind the whole House that the United Kingdom is a world leader when it comes to maritime insurance. This is what we do. You know, we trade across the world, we bring goods and services across the world, and we insure those goods and services across the world. We should all be very proud of both our maritime sector and the insurance sector as well.
Ellie Chams.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I too would like to pay tribute to everyone involved in the emergency response. Can I ask the Minister, does he share my deep concern that more than 24 hours after this collision, we still don't know what the cargo was on the MV Solong? Surely the insurance industry ought to know that at the very least. And can I also ask in relation to the pollution? I understand this incident may have taken place in or close to 2 marine protected areas. Are those MPAs affected? What is the plan for cleaning them up? And he mentioned that pollution measures are in waiting but not implemented because the priority is reducing fire. But the Stena Immaculate, I understand, is no longer burning, and that is the one with the hundreds of thousands of tonnes of fuel oil. What measures are being taken to tackle the pollution now? Because speed is of the essence.
Well, I say to the honourable member, I think this incident started about 10 to 10 yesterday. We were only about 22 hours, 23 hours into this incident. Within minutes, assets were stood up and the crews brought safely home, except for one member of the Solong. And I would say we've got assets to measure the pollution in place now. Those assets are being deployed. Where it's safe to deploy them, they will be deployed, but the priority still remains to get the fire out on the Solong.
Wendy Chamberlain.
Madam Deputy Speaker. Several members have mentioned the effects to the marine environment, including endangered bird species such as puffins and kittiwakes, who are returning to colonies right now in places such as the Isle of May in my own constituency. Can the Minister outline what engagement he's having with the charities and organisations who run those colonies? And secondly, to follow on from the Honourable Member's question in relation to the Scottish Government, if the worst case scenario is feared and we do see pollution extending extensively, is there plans for engagement between the Environment Agency and SEPA?
Well, I thank the Honourable Member. The environment is absolutely at the front of our mind, and once we get this fire out, we will make those impact assessments and take the appropriate measures to clean up any pollution if there is any. Department is working across government currently, and we're all working with the local resilience forum, so those partner agencies in terms of bird protection, marine, fish, environment. We will be liaising with them over the days ahead once we have those impact assessments to see what is the best way forward.
Robin Swan. Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker, and again can I join the Minister's statements in regards to paying tribute to all those emergency services who have responded. But I think, Madam Deputy Speaker, the unknown of the cargo on this alone is a major concern to many in this chamber and many who are working on that issue. So in that instance, in regards to the UN's International Maritime Organisation, which actually has responsibility for safety and security of shipping and the prevention of marine and atmospheric pollution by shipping, can I ask the Minister what engagement he has had with the UN's IMO in regards to this, or in regards to what steps they will take in learning from this and actually engage with the IMO to make sure that any cargo that is at sea is known by someone?
I'm very grateful to the Honourable Member. We are in discussions with both the owners of these vessels, and also we know that the Salong was sailing from Grangemouth, so we are trying to ascertain. We know it had a mixed cargo of containers. That is the only information available to me, and that information is currently being analysed. I don't have that to bring that to the House at the moment, but as soon as I have it, that information we will make known. As I said, the Stena Immaculate was carrying 220,000 barrels of A1 jet fuel. We know that. We can begin to prepare any contingency plans around that information that we already have in terms of that vessel.
Callum Miller.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. I'd like to thank the Minister for his fulsome statement and associate myself with the recognition of the loss of life, potential loss of life, and also those communities affected. I understand that the priority is now dealing with the immediate incident, and there will be a full investigation by the Maritime Accident Investigation Branch in due course. However, in light of the fact that the Royal Navy has deployed vessels to the North Sea to monitor the activities of hostile states both on and under the sea, can the Minister assure us that the Government and its agencies will make an assessment so we can be clear that there has been no foreign interference in this terrible accident?
Yes, I mean, the answer to that is yes. And the Minister for Defence contacted me last night to say that they were ready and willing to be deployed if they were required. So far, they have not been required because at the moment we feel there is no malign intention to this incident. However, the Marine Accident Investigation Branch, as he says, will investigate. They will give me their initial findings as soon as humanly possible. I will I will read their final report, which is my duty to do so as Maritime Minister, and we will take the matter from there. But he's right to raise it.
I'm Deputy Speaker. Can I thank the Minister very much? And first of all those who responded. I think we owe them a debt, and that should be put on record. But I can also thank the Minister for his endeavours. I spoke to him yesterday about it. I understand that he's been assiduous, focused, and in this House I think we should put on record our thanks to him for all that he has done. Can the Minister outline what steps will be taken to investigate whether there were failings with the visual observation, with radar, or the automated identification system, the AIS, which led to this unexpected collision? And how can we ensure that the long-term environmental effects of this devastating collision are dealt with in a coordinated manner? Thanks so much.
Well, can I thank the Honourable Member for Strangford for his House? Can I update the House to say that as it currently stands, no sign of pollution from vessels is observed at this time. But monitoring is in place, and should that change, assets in place, they will be provided as needed. That's the latest current information as relayed to me. In terms of the question of the honourable gentleman, that is a matter for the Marine Accident Investigation Bureau. We have extraordinarily dedicated officials who are on site, were on site yesterday, were deployed. They will be making their surveys of the two vessels, and they will be reporting back to me with initial findings when they can, and subsequently there will be a final report for sign-off on my desk at some stage in the future. But I'm grateful for the honourable member's support.
Can I thank the Minister for his statement?